Hey everybody, my name is James. I'm one of the hosts here at NDI November. Today we have a really exciting show. We have the CEO from Atomos, Jeromy Young, joining us. Gary's going to be talking to him about all things NDI when it comes to Atomos, especially talking about HDR and 10-bit color spaces. So this is definitely one that you don't want to miss. I did just want to say, this is going to be going on all month long, so make sure to register at NDINovember.com. We are going to be announcing prizes throughout the month, including at the end of this show, we will be announcing the winner of a Bird Dog X1. So definitely make sure to stick around till the end of the show to see if you are our lucky winner. Without further ado, let's have Jeromy and Gary take it away.
All right, NDI November. We're going all month in November. Throughout the entire month, we're going to have interviews with different vendors. We're going to have user stories. We're going to have product spotlights. We're going to have NDI tutorials looking at NDI. And also, we have this year over $10,000 worth of raffle prizes. So go to NDINovember.com and log in and sign up, and you can win a raffle. Also, we're going to have 3 days of intensive programming, November 12th through 14th from 3 p.m. to basically 5 or 6 p.m. with a lot more in-depth, intense kind of programming and interviews and stuff like that. And I want to just welcome a very big friend of mine and in the industry who this is his first NDI November because they're here to announce full integration of NDI into their products. They've had a little bit of NDI, but now they've really done it right. Jeromy Young from Atomos, welcome to NDI November, buddy.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks for having me.
Now, one of the things I think you guys have done that's really cool is you have actually tapped into NDI as a way to do wireless reception and transmission in a production environment. And I think that is so cool. But before we get into that, you are back as the CEO and co-founder of Atomos. So this isn't a half-hour interview about you, but give us a couple of minutes of what's been going on since you've been back and how you're seeing, the future of Atomos now.
Yeah. Thanks, Gary. Yeah, we've been working hard on kind of connecting the that huge kind of social content creation market with the Ninja phone and offering also some, I think, what was much needed accurate HDR lighting with our Sun Dragon, as well as upgrading our current core customer base, which is what this interview is about. Is the upgrade to all of our existing products for many years. With the capability of 4K HDR NDI, and it reaches far and wide NDI, and it has been growing and growing and growing, and we see the opportunity to kind of offer tools like we do in other market segments to allow the customer to kind of get more from one device and just carry that kind of tool around with them, whether they're a system integrator or setting up as a house of worship and broadcasters. This just connects and shows you the NDI signal really, really effectively in lots of different ways.
And as a monitor, field recorder, now streaming connectivity device, you can move it to any camera you have. It's not limited to the one camera. Get a new camera, move it over. You want to use multiple cameras at once? Buy multiple Ninjas to Shogun, right? It's a simple band for us.
Yeah, that's right. And it goes into kind of both wired and wireless workflows. Lets you record, lets you stream. You can convert HDMI to SDI on the Shogun, and there's a lot of versatility in the products, especially bringing that recording capability for NDI.
Now, your new NDI feature set is a firmware upgrade, not for all old Atomos products, but why don't you go over what older, besides just the Ninja V products, can now be upgraded to have full NDI integration and some of the functionality that it brings, and when the updates will be available. I know some products have it and some are still going to get it, correct?
Yeah, that's right. So, we're initially releasing with the Shogun Ultra and the Ninja and Ninja Ultra with the Atomos Connect on the back.
Yep.
Which gives you that connectivity into wireless and networked workflows. And any customer that already has an NDI license that's upgraded to that all they need to do is upgrade to OS 11.11, and then they'll be able to get the NDI capability for free because they've already paid for it previously. Otherwise, if you don't have it, you just need to upgrade the OS and get the NDI license, and you're away.
That's very awesome. I love how you are always taking care of your as much of your customer base as you can. But it tells me that when I buy a Ninja or a Shogun, I have a product that's not future proof, but it's going to be working well beyond with features beyond what I got when I bought it. So it only keeps getting better and better. And that is the Atomos track record. It's proven, it's never changed. When you get an Atomos film recorder, it only gets better over time. And most of that is freebies, or it might be very nominally upgrades. And usually when you charge an upgrade, it's because you're being charged a licensing fee from someone else.
That's right, and we keep it as cost effective as possible, because we know that these are production companies trying to make money. So the least you spend on your kit, the more money there is for you to grow your business.
I love your tagline, NDI on the go. So let's jump right into that, how you guys are making NDI mobile. So let's talk about some of the key features that NDI is giving to your products.
Yeah, so obviously NDI is a really convenient kind of workflow for customers. It kind of simplifies that network stack that has been always there to be used, but has been difficult to navigate if you're not a kind of an IT expert. So NDI has always had that, and it really is the core of it. And so we can transmit and receive. So there's an encoder and a decoder, and it's all NDI 6, which supports 4K HDR. So right up to the top levels of video content. And that we love HDR. We think it's amazing, and our customers obviously use it every day. And so now NDI can bring that, which is one of the reasons we went for this all.
And Jeromy, I want to interrupt you because HDR is new to NDI. You've been HDR since HDR was, I would say, from the day HDR came out, you guys were doing raw and having support for HDR. So they're really the newcomers to the HDR party, whereas you're kind of jumping into NDI. But really, it's a great match, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. And that, NDI organization was very keen to kind of support that new feature. We were keen to support it. So we've been working hard with them for kind of over a year to get this functionality into the products. And it's working super well. You can group, you can, choose where to send. It's a great confidence monitor. It can test the signal for you. It's this great little tool. You can also then stream SRT from it. And at the same time, you can provide a backup record for your NDI streams, which is, something that's very unique, and I think will be very valuable to that customer set. And then at the same time, sometimes you've got HDMI monitors or SDI monitors in the workflow, and on a Shogun you can now convert HDMI to SDI using the NDI either receive or transmit. Really, really cool kind of flexible functionality.
Yeah, and let's delve a little more into NDI 6 and the HDR specifically, because people who know NDI don't necessarily fully understand what the advantage of that 10-bit, color space is. You guys have been there for a long time. In fact, you are the guy who told me that, HDR on a HD television will look better to a guy my age than 4K without it, because it's the way we see video and stuff. But you've brought a level of HDR that's far more than just viewing a football game. You've really, with the monitors and your ability, you've really taken HDR. I'm going to say if 4K was a 10 and HDR 4K was 11, you guys have taken it to 20 with what your monitors bring to unlocking from these cameras by getting access to the direct file right off of the sensor.
Yeah, that's right. And it used to be that you needed log curves and all this stuff, but now there's standard transmissions, which is why NDI can start to support it, because there's a lot of standards that are now in place. Whether you're HLG, which is a hybrid log gamma, which comes from half SDR, half HDR, so it gets you to kind of 85% of the full range of brightness and the full range of color, which, our eyes see about 16 stops, and we're showing around 12 stops, which is about 95% of what images are. The little bits in the top area you need, really, really high-end stuff, which is still very expensive. But for most of us, our phones, our tablets, our TVs all do HLG and PQ. PQ is the other standard. So these are standard 2084 protocols that, broadcasters can use, as well as if you're just a normal kind of production company, or you've got it in your arsenal, then NDI 6 unlocks just automatically across the board, and you can transmit SDR for the older equipment, or you can transmit HDR at the same time. And that's what hybrid log gamma, that's what we recommend, because both the receiving unit on the other side can represent it either really amazing 4K HDR, or it can just represent normal SDR, so you can still view it. So it used to be a real bespoke kind of workflow HDR. Now, especially with NDI 6, you're now able to just connect and go and not worry about those technical details, and know that you're going to get a great signal coming out.
And it's just more natural for your eyes, and your eyes feel you're watching a better, sharper picture when you throw that HDR on top of the 4K.
Yeah, you're giving it more information.
Yep.
Correct.
So let's jump into what devices specifically are going to support NDI and how you're going to go in the future with it. Now, what you said to start with is the current Ninja and Ninja Ultra and Shogun Ultra are going to support NDI 6 with HDR, but you also have a plan for older models to get it. Is that something that we have to wait on, or is that firmware now? If I go to 11.11, I get it?
No, yeah, that's right. You just upgrade and you get it. So there's Ninja 5, Ninja 5 Plus, Ninja Ultra, fitted with the Atomos Connect. And then you've got Shogun Connect, and Shogun Ultra. And you can just purchase the NDI 6 firmware upgrade. If you already got it, it's just activated. You just update the firmware and it'll already be working.
And Ninja 5 shipped in, I'm going to say 2000, was it 19
18?
or 20?
18, 19, yeah.
So we're going back. Yeah. If you've had your Ninja for 5 years, you're still getting this NDI for free. What other company can tell you that, man? What other company?
Not many. And yeah, we're really happy that our customers can get these kind of upgrades, and people will, I'm sure, now go, wow, I can use that in this workflow. And, we have tested with quite a few customers who are using, in excess of hundreds to 200 NDI feeds, and it's all working really well. And a lot of them are just using it as a confidence monitor on their DSLR or mirrorless camera. You plug in the HDMI, and then you can send NDI, and you can transmit that to either streaming workflows.
We're going to get some use cases, but I think what you talked about, one of the things I always hype on NDI, and even hyped it with you in the early days, why you should jump on it, is because it scales and it's so flexible. So if I've got a bunch of your Ninjas and Shoguns running NDI, anyone with a laptop can discover that thing and see it, who's on set, who has permission. So if I'm just going to be able to check, I just want to see how this camera's looking. I want to check the color on this, or I just want to make sure, is that 1990s car and that 1950, we get in that car in the parking lot kind of thing on a wide angle. It can be anything someone's doing, but in the past, sometimes you had to stop the whole production to do something like that. Whereas now anyone can get access to what's going on in the shot from the camera they want to look at through NDI without interrupting everything else that's going on.
Yeah, that's right. And, when you attach to, standard workflows, that's why NDI is so cool, because, the vMixers of the world understand it, they work with it, and therefore now you can just plug our devices straight in and utilize, those capabilities for live production.
So NDI Versatility, that's what I find from NDI. You mentioned a lot of it, that it's, your devices are now NDI encoders and decoders, which also means if I am in an NDI environment and I happen to own a Shogun, I can plug into the network and maybe I can watch the show that we're shooting here in my office if I wanted to. It becomes an NDI screen because I'm using the decoder
without
function.
A computer needed.
Yeah,
without a computer needed. And that also extends to recording it and watching it again. So it's really important to kind of that functionality. I think, recording NDI has always been a computer-based thing. Yep. Now it can be on external SSDs, and you can then, know that you've got the file. You can use it like kind of ProRes workflows, and it's a H.265 file, so it'll play anywhere. I think it's a really versatile kind of upgrade. And, the importance of things like visual testing, making sure that the signal is what you want it to be. All of our testing tools on these products allow you to test that signal and make sure that you've got, exactly the image that you want going out to your customers.
Now, with your wireless workflows with the Connect or with the Shogun with its Wi-Fi built into it, now you're bringing in mobility, and that's something very new for the NDI world. We've got some PTZ cameras and some converters that have Wi-Fi on them, but they're not intended to be moving around. They're typically mounted on a tripod. By mobility, you can actually have this on a rig or on a cameraman moving around, and he's transmitting NDI from his DSLR or it could be a production camera, a big expensive camera. Talk about that, because I think it's so cool, and I know you've got some places that are doing it, that are doing some cool stuff, and I know you can't drop names, but talk about like what they're doing with the fact that it's Wi-Fi now.
Yeah. So basically, battery powered camera and monitor. So they're walking around, doing that, the close-ups, doing the more people side of things, where they've got their PTZs in the normal positions, and then they can add in this part of the workflow, which makes it a much more dynamic and kind of professional studio style / more upgraded kind of production value. And that allows, unlocking that mobility is really why one of the big reasons that we added, NDI to these products, because we are portable, we're battery powered, and you get all those functionalities just like you were in kind of a rack mounted situation, but you've got the portability and you can follow the talent around.
And a good high quality NDI encoder, this encode decode, is going to cost you $300-400. So it's like you just doubled the value of a Ninja or a Shogun. I just think it's such a tremendous feature set to give to people. And I know what the Shoguns do, SDI or HDMI conversion. So now I can just use my Shogun while it's on the set. I can also be using it to convert something into something kind of in the background. It's just an added Swiss Army knife of everything that these are becoming.
Yeah, that's right. And the support across the board for the NDI 6, for the HX3, for the HDR, for grouping, for multicasting, for naming of devices, it's all configurable on the device, just like you're in computer land. So it really does kind of bring a level of mobility and control to the production, and also flexibility, as you said, with
and I would say
conversions and
productivity too, right? Because if I can get more out of something, if I don't have to stop a production, if I can have people doing things simultaneously rather than one after another, I mean, all of a sudden the cost of my shoot becomes lower because everyone's more productive, right?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. That's the key to this, to the mobility of NDI and bringing that 4K HDR, which is, where everyone needs to go.
Productivity is a big thing, and I think it's great that you guys have. I don't want to say you've jumped on the NDI bandwagon. You've been on it, but you've had to wait for them to have capability for your secret sauce, which is HDR and those advanced cinema type workflows. So it's really come together. So let's talk about some future developments. Are there any additional NDI related features or enhancements planned for upcoming firmware updates or new product releases? You knew I was going to ask you that. Now, since you're the CEO and head designer of the company, clearly I shouldn't have to warn you not to say anything that can get yourself in trouble or get fired. But because
That's
I know
right.
who I'm talking to, I will give you that disclaimer.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, look, the way that NDI, I think it's more about improving the workflows of the customers. The way that automatic grouping works, the way that we integrate into software, which is in the live streaming market where NDI is proliferating, as well as, communication between devices, will improve. So that's where our focus is to get more and more devices on the network talking to us, not just setting up our devices, but setting up, the ecosystem of NDI is a really big focus, and also improving the monitoring and signal testing tools that are inside the product. We've got most of them in there now. There's some that are requested for network side, so we're looking at those. But really, it's just to enhance and speed up that workflow of NDI creativity in a simple, fast way, and then add in those kind of mobile monitoring / recording functionalities that you can't get today without these products in the mix.
And one of the things that I look at is, people who buy an Atomos converter take their imagery, their cinematography very seriously. They're not just
Yeah.
a point and shooter. They're someone who really takes care into the color, how their video works, the actual look and feel, the cinematography of what they're shooting.
Yeah.
And I think these guys have great cameras. And now we're saying you already have a Ninja, or perhaps your new camera, you're getting another one, or a Shogun. Now those cameras can be used, brought into something like vMix or OBS, a very inexpensive streaming solution.
Yes.
And now I can create a multi-camera screen using one of those softwares that just looks so much more marvelous and spectacular than what people are doing with typical shooting or even PTZ cameras. I love the PTZ cameras I sell, but they're not going to be the same as like a Panasonic Lumix all decked out being used by a guy who really knows what he's doing and can really tweak that color space.
Yeah, large sensors are the key here with more flexible lenses for better, creative production shots. And that's what this unlocks. Now you've got your PTZs, they play their role, very important. And then on top of that, now you can add this kind of live creative workflow into those systems. And NDI just unlocks, the simplicity of connecting those things all together, which we're very, very excited about.
I look at like at house worship. A lot of the ministers, priests, or whatever want to try to get that depth of field look where they're standing in front of, something, and then you see all the cool stuff that's behind them kind of in the shadowy, and you get that depth of field stuff. PTZ cameras simply cannot do that. But now, if I know I have guys, wedding videographers, and people come into my place with these high-end cameras as a church, I can look to get one of those cameras, maybe borrow one of those cameras, put an Atomos Ninja with a Kinect or a Shogun on it, and I can bring it into, maybe I'm producing my show with a TriCaster or something, but I can bring in these higher quality cameras. The NDI and the new TriCasters now support HDR 4K, which, like I said, is really taking your color imagery and your image from 10 to 11, and it lets you really get that special secret sauce. And it doesn't have to be every camera doing that to get the effect. If I just got one shot where I've got the DSLR going through the Ninja, going through the Kinect, coming into that shot could just have a look that is just like, wow, it pops a little bit more. If I'm in an event space and I'm looking at a band, same kind of thing. If I'm shooting plays, there's just so many ways that you can use that live sensor and just get so much more out of, and by more, I mean real image quality and cinematography. I can't say that enough on this call, on this show.
Yeah. And like the way that people are using it so far is definitely connecting those, bigger sensor cameras in, as well as into kind of global hybrid events. There was a big insurance company that did over 60,000 attendees on 200 NDI feeds, and 20 of those feeds were Shoguns, the ones walking around and integrating into. They were recording the feeds coming in on those Shoguns and using they were using a vMix workflow with those NDI input streams coming from the Shoguns. And what they were impressed about was the kind of versatility of the devices as encoders and decoders. They flicked it across to test signals, and they converted HDMI to SDI. So that was a really good example of using the full kind of workflow of the NDI kind of world.
Jeromy, I'm going to go on record that 60 people walking around with Shoguns is more than just a proof of concept. It's really showing not only to prove it work, but guys really use it. The reason I bring this up is, we do our show with 3 or 4 cameras, and this show we've essentially done with 1 camera. But in a live environment where you're shooting live and streaming live, there's no more stressful situation for video. And that you guys have done it in an environment that had 100 different sources, 60 of them were coming from you guys. That to me, I say more? It just works, and it works great. And that is a phenomenal case study to really tell people about. I wish we could tell more specifics, but I know there's NDAs about stuff. And just the fact that you mentioned this whole thing is so great. So I want to thank you for being on the show. I want to remind everyone that NDI November is through the whole month of November, that we have $10,000 worth of raffle prizes at the end. And at the end of the show, Jeromy, I always like to give my guests the final word on whatever you want to say about NDI, Atomos, the weather in Australia. The floor is yours, young man. Take it away.
Yeah, I just want to reach out to the NDI kind of world and say, we're here. We're We're working really hard to make sure that you guys have got the best tools, and give our products a try. You'll see the flexibility of it, whether it's testing a signal, recording your feeds, or moving around with nicer cameras into your workflow. You don't have to change anything else. It's NDI, so if you've got an NDI setup, it just works. And you can expect more and more of this type of feature set coming into our products.
Jeromy, speaking for NDI November and NDI, welcome to the full NDI family. And I think Atomos is welcoming NDI to the HDR family. So welcome,
Correct.
buddy.
HDR
Put a big high five there. NDI, Atomos, HDR, it's the best. Thank you very much. And everyone, tune into the rest of NDI November. And remember to register at NDINovember.com for those free raffles and the November 12th through 14th shows. Peace.
All right, big thank you to Jeromy Young for joining us again. Always a pleasure having Jeromy on the show to talk about all things Atomos and NDI. Like I said, we are going to be announcing our winner for today. James B. from Cambridge, Massachusetts. Congratulations, you are the winner of our Bird Dog X1. This is Bird Dog's wireless PTZ camera. Definitely make sure to check out your email, as we will be sending you more information on how to receive that. To everyone else, definitely make sure to register at NDINovember.com for your chance to win. We're going to be announcing prizes all throughout the month. If you'd like to see what those other prizes are, you can check out the calendar of our events and our giveaways at NDINovember.com. We will be live back here on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern next week. We'll see you then. Have a great weekend.